ever wondered what it would be like to start a business with your mother-in-law?
Or your daughter-in-law?
This is a question that our guests today, Jordyn and Kay of Portage View Farms, ask themselves.
Yes. And I think a lot of people would say no.
So when we first saw them on Instagram, we were really intrigued by their dynamic, not only what they do and how they're doing it and sharing their knowledge, but also how do you make this work? Because I think a lot of us would say, ooh, I don't know if I could.
They're both really grounded, and you're going to hear that in their relationship. There's a lot of respect, but also curiosity and creativity for the things that they're doing. So Kay has always been a gardener, and together with Jordyn, that you would call them homesteaders and gardeners, and they're growing and raising and preserving food, and they're teaching people the world over how to be self-sustainable the simple way. So there's no prepper, anxiety, fear-based thinking. It's just the how-to
and
of how to do it.
Yeah.
So Kay has always had a garden and animals, and a while ago she thought about starting a family YouTube, and then COVID hit, and Jordyn thought at the time that she'd start a farm Instagram, and their original idea was to sell their chicken tractors. That didn't go as planned. And so in our interview today, we talked about how they pivoted, how they actually evolved to figure out what they really wanted to monetize, and how they could help people and really make a difference. And so it's just a really cool interview.
They're a dynamic duo, and you're going to see it, like, it's so cool how through Kay, she's sharing her knowledge and Jordyn is using her skills. They're working together and becoming this number one resource for people around the world who want to be more self-sustainable. So through Portage View Farm. So enjoy the interview. These ladies were features in our summer issue 15 of summer 2024. So right after the interview, go and grab your issue, because you're going to want to see their feature spread with photos, and we dive a lot deeper in their feature story. So yeah, enjoy. All right. Welcome, Jordyn and Kay. I feel like this has been a long time coming, but we just want to say from our hearts to yours, welcome to the Trailblazer Podcast. How are you guys doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
See, we do that too.
Yeah, we do that too. And I always think that we should push record earlier, but we were just saying, Jordyn, you got 4 kiddos. That's right. And I said you probably had to move mountains to make this interview happen. And Kay, you're just getting over a sickness. So we'll make this as fun as we can.
Yes.
For your time.
And pain-free.
Yeah, and pain-free.
So we want to start off by saying that Jordyn and Kay have a special relationship. Kay is Jordyn's mother-in-law. So as many of you listening know, Erin and I are mother-daughter. And so we're really keen and excited to find out more about how this relationship works, because while some people go, ooh, I don't think I could work with my daughter, I think there's probably a lot. Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a lot of women that say I couldn't do it with my daughter-in-law either. So yeah, we'll be looking at that. But, just to kick things off, tell us where you're situated and what you're doing together and all the things. And we're just going to flow from there. And I think we've got some cool deep dives we can do on some of the topics. So ladies, take it away.
Take it. I'm Kay, and I grew up in this beautiful place in Bellingham, Washington, and was able to, my husband and I, come back to this area and buy my parents' property. And along with that, we have a few rental houses alongside. And Jordyn and Bryce finally joined us in 2014.
Yeah.
When Bryce came to work for our family business. And so she lived on one side of me, and now she lives on the other side. She's kind of moved to different houses that would fit her family, and as they became available. So fun having the kids here and just watching them grow and do things outside. And so, I mean, we just get along with each other.
What was that look?
We really do that. A lot of people are like, I just wish I wish I could be that. And all, they all want that relationship, because a lot of them have a toxic relationship with their in-law. And I think that's sad. And I know there's some things that you just can't now prevent that. That's just going to be what it is. But, we work on that relationship.
Yeah, I was actually at the dentist this morning, and the gal was like, "Where are your kids?" I was like, "Oh, with my mother-in-law." And she's like, "Oh, okay." And I was like, "Yeah, she just lives next door." "Oh, ooh. Is that okay?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah." Like, yeah, duh. I'm like, I have a babysitter.
But you're right. There is
Completely.
this stigma, right? Like with this dynamic in this relationship, and God, it's time to rewrite that script because, yeah, I think women and as mothers and daughters-in-law, we're a lot more self-aware now, and so that we can work through things that come up in a lot more effective way, right? For the sake of family and relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I'm not the mother-in-law, but like, wouldn't you want to see your grandbabies? So wouldn't you want to cultivate that relationship with
Right.
the mother of the children that you
Yes.
want to see?
Yeah.
And so at Portage View Farm, tell us all the things that are going on there, because so you've been there like 10 years now, Jordyn. Yeah. So how
How did you
what are
guys come
doing?
together? Like,
Yeah.
when were you like, okay, we're going to start this business. We're going to take it on Instagram and take the world by storm. Like, when did you decide that first? And what did that look like?
So Kay's been homesteading her whole life, and she doesn't really call it homesteading.
Yeah.
She's like, this is just how I live. And then, so when I moved here, I'm actually a military brat. My dad served in the Marine Corps my entire life. So moving around was what I did, and had no idea that like people grew their own food. I mean, I knew what like a garden was, but like I had no idea that people raised animals and processed them in their backyard and like really preserved food. I knew of like jam, but like I really had no idea like what this was. And so when I moved here, I was pretty pregnant when I moved. And it was in the fall. So not much happened. And then I had a baby in December, and, you know, I would kind of tinker around up there, but like, I didn't really utilize the garden at all. I was too afraid to like, I didn't want to mess up her garden. So I just was like, no part of this. I am too scared. And I was new, so I didn't know her that well. And then I had like had, you know, a couple more kids, and I would be out there. I was out there, but I was not involved. And I think just a couple years in, Kay was like, let's start a YouTube channel. And everybody was like, yeah. And that was the end of the conversation, because everyone's like, well, I don't know how to do YouTube. Yeah. Like, what do we do? What do we show? How, like, I don't even know. And then I think it was like a couple years, maybe 2 years or so ish later.
Yeah.
We were like, I was showing chicken processing just on my personal Instagram story, and people were like, what is this? Get this away from me. I do not want to see it. And I was like, well, maybe we should just start an Instagram and just show our life, because some people were interested and some people weren't. And I was like, well, maybe we can, you know, show that. We had no idea there was a community online. We had no idea that it was actually kind of like a big movement, because we started it in June of 2020, which explains, you know, everything. And so a lot of people were, you know, starting to be more worried about their food and what was going on. And so while we were still just living our normal everyday life, there was this whole movement happening. So we just got on Instagram one day, and just, I kind of tried to learn how to do it. And I was like, you're not allowed to post. I'm doing that because there's things to it. And because, you know, we didn't know anything about Instagram. And I'm like, we have to try to like figure it out. And so we just started posting and sharing, and then reels happened, and we had a couple of videos that blew up, which really like helped grow our following. And then from there, just a demand for information. Yeah. It was like, well, how do I do this? How do I do this? And then I had just an Instagram friend like reach out, and she was like so brave to ask, but she was like, what are you doing to monetize your account? And I was like, nothing. I think we have like one affiliate link, which we had no idea about that or anything. And she's like, okay, well, you need to be doing this. And so she kind of like helped me get our first like set of classes started. And then just from there, it's been like just eye-opening to know how to like serve and help others and provide resources for those who are really wanting to learn through courses and classes and challenges and memberships and guides and just all this stuff to just
the digital world, right? Like the digital world of monetization. And was it hard for you guys to transition from like just providing content value for free, and then all of a sudden, okay, we're now charging for the content? How was that transition?
Oh, I think I go over to her house and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, it's difficult. You think that when you see an account with high numbers that everyone's paying you. and everyone's not, which is totally fine. But it's like, these people are asking for help, and why, like, I struggle to understand like why they want the help, but why they're not willing to compensate you for the time. And so I'm always like, do we even want to do this anymore? And I'm like, so we still struggle to find the balance of like, what can we give that serves, it truly serves? Because that is our goal. But also, what can we get? Because I don't owe my life to Instagram when I'm trying to raise a family, but we generally want to help. And so I'm just learning that balance of being like, well, it's all in our membership if you want to learn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So when did you start the membership?
So we created an online course last year when courses were kind of really starting to begin. And now I think people are kind of like, I don't want to do a course because one, I don't have time. People like the quick fixes, where a course you have to sit down and take. And I get that because I took a course on how to create a course. So I get that. And so then we started doing like these little gardening challenges that were just snippets, like 5 days out of the month to just hone in and focus on certain topics they're strategically planned based on what we're doing. Like, we're not teaching harvesting in January, right? We're teaching planting. And then from there, we're like, it's still not giving those challenge members everything when we have this course that just has over 100 video lessons. And I'm like, the same girl who told me to do the classes, she's like, no, just merge them and make them a membership. And then they just get everything. And so the membership like just started.
Yeah.
But it's just a way to just serve those who are wanting more of like an encyclopedia. It's basically YouTube without the trolls and the hate comments.
Yeah.
And it's just exclusive, and it's more organized, and you can find it. And we have the community inside of that with our Facebook page, where I don't actually go on YouTube and respond to comments or provide additional information. Like, the membership really allows our member to ask us questions, and we can learn and dive deeper into their current situation to actually give them a valuable answer, because not all answers are the same.
Yeah. Right.
You're just so on track with the membership thing, like so on track. And a lot of the gals that we've had in the magazine or that we've interviewed or even on the podcast, that is a way to, I guess, collectively bring the people who really want what you've got, but they can consume it at their pace. And, I don't know how many courses we've bought over the last year.
And not finished.
Pinterest, this, that, you get in a couple of videos and you're just like, I don't have time for this. So that's just a really smart move that you've did it. So what is some of the content that you're offering through the membership, from the courses that you've pulled together? Like, what would somebody find there?
So we started it as a course, which was you would learn how to start, grow, and harvest a garden from the beginning, like mindset, all the way to putting it to bed to know exactly how to start it again. Basically, Kay's the gardener. So basically it's like, if she's gone and I want a garden, let's just say if I move and I want a garden, don't go anywhere. Yeah. Like, it's basically my guide of what needs to happen. So I could go back and watch it and be like, okay, I got to do this month. And so it's really just, I'm the newer one to gardening. So I'm like, all this knowledge in her head, I'm like, okay, let's condense it and make a plan and simplify it so that I can follow it if I need to start my own garden. Because my husband's like, well, if we ever move, you better grow a garden, because I only eat fresh tomatoes. So I love it now too.
And that's a huge advantage for your team, in that, like, Kay, you're coming with like all this like decades of knowledge. And with Jordyn, the advantage is that if you weren't in touch with how to grow our food coming from your background, you can decipher it. Okay, these need to be bite-sized pieces. And Kay, what's so natural to you, like, it's probably a really cool exercise having to break it down into like digestible
I
pieces,
know,
right?
like,
For the
yeah.
average person.
Be the devil's advocate.
Yeah.
What about this? What about that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm always like, well, explain this to me. I don't understand, this on soil. I'm like, nope, simpler. I got to be, nope, a little bit easier. And then, and what we've learned too is based on all of the questions that we get is like, there is a foundation to growing a garden. And what we've come to find out is that all of the questions we get, they always result back to like these few foundational principles.
Yeah.
And when you build it up in small bites and learn and understand these basic things, then those problems that people are having don't actually exist, because I try to diagnose it. And so I think it through and I'm like, well, I don't have a specific example, but I'm like, well, if they have this problem, it's probably because of soil and their soil's bad. And so if they knew how to have the good soil, which the soil is the basics of gardening, then they wouldn't have this issue, this issue, this issue. And so then I go and talk to Kay. She's like, yeah, it's a soil issue. So everyone's looking for the hack instead of building those principles and those foundations. And so that's what we're trying to like, I'm like, if you would listen to me and learn these like 10 steps, you're not having these issues anymore, because we don't have those issues because we understand the core
Foundational. Yeah. So I want to ask you guys, because I'm sure, so you started in 2020 and we didn't know that coming into this interview. And I just find that fascinating too, because we've talked to so many rural women businesses who 2020 was the year they launched their business, and then COVID happened, right? And businesses went one way or they went the other. So with you guys, did you find yourself asking the question, why us? Like, because you can get information, it's all readily available, right? YouTube for free, paid, all this kind of thing. And what we love to talk about too with entrepreneurs is like, it doesn't matter if someone else is teaching the same knowledge. It's your perspective and what you guys bring as a team to it that are gonna, make customers for life. And so what have you found for you two to be like, what is the magic sauce in what you bring that differentiates you from other resources out there? That's a hard question.
It is. I honestly think it's because we're in-laws.
Yeah.
And like, as weird as it sounds and how it's like not related, like I feel like that's why people stick around, is because they like to see our dynamic.
I'm going to agree with you, because we hear that all the time. And your mother and daughter, I wish I could talk to people, listen to a podcast. Oh, I wish I could talk to my mom that way or my daughter that way. So there's just this, we get to have a peek behind the curtain of people's lives, right?
Well, and that was it for us when we first saw you on Instagram. I was watching videos and I was like, okay, what's the relationship here? What? Like, daughter-in-law was crazy. Yeah. So, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So what are some of the things that make your relationship work? Like, for example,
communication.
How do you handle a difference of opinion for something, a direction or something that affects that, or
conflict resolution?
Do you ever both get kind of down on things at the same time, or are you always up and effervescent and happy? Like, how do you manage the mood swings and whatnot? And like, so tell us tell us some of that stuff.
Do you want to go first?
Well, for one thing, is like, we'll sit down, we'll plan things and kind of be on the same page. So that kind of thing with Instagram and stuff like that, we're always kind of on the same page, or I pretty much just do what she tells me to do.
Well, and same with because she runs the homestead part of it. So we sit down and I'm like, okay, here's what we're doing. This is what I need from you. What do you need from me?
Right.
And then we make it work. And I'm like, okay, I have this day at this time, this day at this time. And we go out and we do what we need to do.
I was going to say, we're kind of the same personality, that we don't like a lot of conflict. And so we just kind of do.
Have you ever done research into like the Enneagram personalities? Well, I'm a type 9, which is a peacemaker and absolutely avoids conflict with everything. She's never done the test, but I'm pretty sure she's the same way.
Probably.
So honestly, like, we don't have conflict with each other. because we're avoiding it at all costs. I'm sure you maybe vent to Jeff about me where,
vice versa. I'm
Yeah.
sure, but we just try to, do things, and we enjoy doing things together.
Yeah, we do.
Really do.
But I'm also hearing you each have your own wheelhouse, like your own skill sets. And so that allows you not to have to cross over or offer suggestions for how the other can do something, because you're just doing the things that you naturally do. Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Where our strengths lie. Yeah. And I'll ask her too. I'm like, well, what do you think about this? And she can give her suggestions, but ultimately she trusts me with my thing. And I even give suggestions like, well, what about this for the garden?
Yeah.
If she doesn't choose my way, I'm like, whatever. It's not my garden. It's hers. I'm just here to learn. So we really honestly don't have any issues.
That's incredible, you guys.
Yeah.
Like, as long as you're dealing with it and resolving issues and they come up and not just sweeping them under the rug, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, for sure. But we don't really have too many things where we're like, oh, I don't think that's a good idea, or, but we're understanding of things too. And, we can get our husbands involved to like, hey, this is what do you think? And just get other perspectives.
Yeah.
But we're pretty go with the flow. And so I'm just like, whatever you want to do, just tell me.
And when Jordyn first moved here, I just started inviting her to go out with me.
Mm-hmm.
Just, I'm going here. If you want to come, okay.
Well, were we freeze drying the other day? We were in the kitchen freeze drying, just chatting, la la la. And I was like, did you ever think you were going to get me in your kitchen, like freeze drying and canning and like actually being involved? And she's like, oh, I knew I would get you. And I was like, oh, really? And she's like, oh, yeah, I knew you'd want to do it. And I was like, well, I appreciate that you didn't force it on me to be like, come over and make these pickles with me.
Yeah.
Like, it was just a natural, sometimes like, hey, can you help me scrub pickles or cucumbers? That's not a big issue. But she naturally let me come into it. And so I never had any like your mom's making me go to the freaking garden today.
Yeah. So that you could claim it for yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She really enjoys it.
Yeah, I do. And I started small. I think we started sharing mostly about the goats, and then I was like, let's get pigs, and then the garden, and then the chickens. And so I'm all in. Like I'll continue this as long as I can. So
ride or die, right? You found your ride or die. Yeah. And Kay, I'd love to ask you, what is it like? Because in the very beginning of this interview, like Jordyn, you said it's homesteading, but for you, Kay, like it's just been how you've lived and how you've grown food and provided for your family. So what is your perspective or point of view, or what's your opinion on and literally since 2020, like this huge rush of people living urban or rural wanting to learn these skills again or for the first time? Like, what is your perspective coming from that this is just a part of who you are? What do you think about this whole, I don't want to say trend because it's not going anywhere, but there's this return back to this.
Yeah.
When you think of homesteading, for me, and my dad worked in Alaska a lot, and I spent a summer up there one time, you think of these people, with no electricity, nothing, and they just go and they get this little homestead. That's kind of what homestead means to me. For me, I'm more like self-sufficient, self-reliant. I like to produce, food in the garden, and I can preserve it. I grew up that way. My mom always did that. And it was never about, saving money. It was about the taste and knowing where it came from. It was just so much better. But we went to the Homesteaders of America conference in 2021. And they sell 5,000 tickets every year, and they sold out. And it was the first year everybody showed up. Mm-hmm. And it took forever to get into that conference. And people were just hungry for knowledge and just, and they had all kinds of vendors showing different things. And people were just hungry to learn how to even grow food or where to buy it from a farmer, because a lot of people, if you can't do it yourself, get on a Facebook group, get on a farm group, get on, something, and find out where these farmers are, or these 4-H kids or anything like that. There's so many ways that you can be self-reliant and support your local little farmer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so chickens, are you still doing the chicken process?
Yes, and we started meat chickens back when my daughter was in high school. She came home one day and she said she was an FFA. She goes, "We're having a contest and I can get free birds." Oh, okay, we'll get 25. So we did 25. And at that time, there was a man that would butcher them on a Saturday for $3 a bird. So okay, we'll just do that. The next year, we got 50 birds. And that guy was no longer available. But luckily, our neighbor said, "Well, our friends have this co-op and they have equipment and you can join their co-op for $10 and get the equipment." And so we just learned how to do it ourselves. And for how many years, Jordyn? About 3 more years, 4 more years, we rented that equipment until we bought our own. But each year Holly would get, then when I said, "Well, get, 75 or get 100," because they get as many as they wanted, up to 100 or whatever. So the most we did, I think, was almost 100. She couldn't quite get 100, but yeah, that was just a contest she did every year, and that's how we got into birds. Yeah. So then after she graduated high school, I had to find out, where to order birds from.
And now we do more and more and more
Yeah.
every year. We're doing 200 this year.
Yeah, we are.
Oh wow! But not all in chicken tractors.
So we're gonna do 2 batches of 100. So we'll be running
Yeah.
3 tractors at a time.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because
I've been down that road.
We
with
tried it a couple
broilers,
of
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, tractors are. I mean, it's awesome, but it's a lot of work.
Yes.
Just the whole having to move the tractors and then the chickens that lag at the back of the tractors, and it's so stressful. Like we don't want to get their feet or their legs, and one person's got to be inside.
Yeah.
Like that was, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, the meat tastes fantastic.
Yeah.
I have one story to tell around that. Aaron's partner Jean had a knee operation in September of the one year where it was time to process the chickens, take them over to the Hutterites down the road, and Jean's knee was in a brace. So Aaron and I took turns each day. Well, no, on that particular day, I had to go gather them, hand them to Jean. He was going to put them in the cages to be trucked over. I think there was like 2 inches of fresh chicken poop on the ground. And I these chickens are darting here and there. And I was down to my last one. And I had the thought, oh, thank God I didn't fall today. Well, what's the next thing that happened?
Oh, no.
I fell and I went flat out. I was just covered in chicken poop, and I practically threw the chicken at him, and I'm just like, oh my God. Anyways.
Yeah. Mom doesn't deal with the chickens.
That
when
was
we
my
have
last.
chickens.
Yeah. That was my last kick at the can.
Yeah.
Sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah.
But I saw somewhere that you were going to go into selling chicken tractors, and
Originally.
yeah. Tell us how that went.
So when we started our Instagram, we started just sharing, like, let's just share our life. Let's be influencers. We had no idea. And then I don't even know how it got started, but Kay designed the chicken tractors. So her husband owns a boat building company, an aluminum boat building company. And then my husband designs the boats. So she can be like, hey, draw this up for me and then cut it out and weld it down at the shop. No big deal, right? She can do what she wants. It's her husband's shop. So he just like manufactured up these chicken tractors. Well, they are phenomenal.
Yeah.
And
they're big. And so people are like, where do you get these? So we're like, yeah, we're going to sell them. Well, they're extremely expensive. Extremely expensive. And so her husband, Jeff, who is the owner of Work Skiff as the company, he's got his, Work Skiff hat on. And then you've got Farmer Jeff, same person, but they butt heads. So I'm talking to Farmer Jeff like, hey, let's do these chicken tractors. And he's like, yeah, we're on board. But he wouldn't communicate it over to his other self, Work Skiff Jeff, to actually make it work, because he's like, well, what are you going to pay me to do it? And I'm like thinking to myself, what do you mean pay you? Like, we're in this together. It's a family affair. It's not, because that is a legitimate business. And we were in Instagram at the time. So Work Skiff Jeff and Farmer Jeff butted heads. And basically we were like, this is not going to work. They're way too expensive. Yeah. And
how would we couldn't ship them,
Yeah, couldn't ship. And he couldn't get them built in a manner of like, if people were actually ordering these, he couldn't do the work for it because his employees were building legitimate boats. So we're like, okay, let's just not worry about that. Then it transitions over and Kay's like, I need a chicken processing table and I want it to look like this. So Bryce draws it up, Jeff makes it, and again, it is fantastic. People want the tables. We're like, yeah, let's sell the tables. And the same problem happened again. Work skiff Jeff and Farmer Jeff butted heads. And like, he's like, I can't do it. And we understand, like, no hard feelings there. We totally understand that he can't do that. And we didn't want to like pay Work Skiff to do it. We're like, what do you mean? Like, just,
We don't have any money.
yeah, we didn't have any money. We're like, just build them. I'm like, just build them for us. And then we don't have, like, then we made money for the farm. And now you don't have to, just toss money around or whatever. So young and naive 4 years ago. So that ended up not working out. And so we're like, no, we're just not doing this. We're not involving Work Skiff in Portage View Farm's thing. And we're just going to do our own thing. And then shortly after that is when our friends started to help us.
And what are all the offerings that you've got under Portage View? Like, what are all the things that all the ways that you're monetizing?
So we have, like, from the very beginning, we have like a digital download of a garden journal, and it's like $4.99. We have garden box plans. People like our garden boxes. So my husband drew up plans for those. Our greenhouse, people wanted greenhouse plans. So Bryce drew up those. And then we offer a chicken processing online course that you can learn how to raise and process chickens. We do in-person workshops for chicken processing for those who want to come out and learn hands-on. So we do 2 classes in the summer. And then we have our membership and just some digital downloads, canning journal, we combined all of our favorite canning recipes and made that into a little guide. So if you need like a basic starter kit, kind of just like our tried and true favorites and kind of stuff like that.
And who would you say, like, are most of your customers urban or rural?
I don't know. I don't know. Our goal is to attract those who want to take it seriously. But I think we have a lot of city people who want to do this.
Yeah.
And so they don't always buy our stuff because I'll do polls because I'm trying to like, do you grow a garden? Yes or no? And then most people are like, no. And I'm like, then why are you here? Yeah. So, but I think they're attracted to the lifestyle. But I think we have a good mixture of a chunk who do that.
Yeah.
The only thing is the people who do the homesteading like we do generally have their own Instagram account and their own services. So they don't need to like learn from us because they're doing it. I would say it's a good split though.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
And so like, like we all know Instagram is such a beast and content. And so Jordyn, you take care of like all the content that way. And how do you deal with that? Because every week I love it and then I hate it and then I love it and I hate it. And like, it's just such a demanding thing, right? You can't step away from it.
How many times do I come over and cry?
Right. Yeah. So how is that for you?
Yeah, I love creating the content. That comes so easy to me because it's literally just questions people ask that I'm like, oh, they're asking how to plant onions. Well, let me just make a video on how to plant onions, right? And so I do a lot of that. ChatGPT actually is a great resource to be like, give me 10 content ideas to make videos on this. And so I'll use that as a guide, or Google. There's a couple hacks that I have to like search like within your niche and what to post. But I think I go over every day and cry. I mean, not really, but
at least once a week.
And it's like, and I don't look at the vanity metrics. Like, I don't care how many views I get or how many likes, like that doesn't determine my worth, but it is important to me to know if what we're teaching is what people want. And I just feel like the struggle right now is like, I don't know what they want.
Yeah.
And we were kind of talking about that the other day. And it's like, All they want is a 6-second video that gives them a hit of dopamine. And then they swipe and they're on to the next one. But then they want all of the information, but they can't watch a video past 6 seconds. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I can't teach you how to plant onions in 6 seconds. So if you really want to learn, then you're going to have to put some skin in the game and join our membership to learn how to do this. Because I'm not going to, make 17 6-second videos to teach you each step of how to plant an onion. Like, let's be a little more realistic. And so the biggest struggle is just like getting people to get off the app and do something for themselves in their garden, because gardening on Instagram is not actually how you grow a garden.
Yeah. I think you nailed it.
I
especially
really do.
Like Instagram has taught us to just be like
consume
bite-sized consumers, right? And we get so used to just like flipping or scrolling, and it's not, I mean, we know it's not good for us, but also from a business perspective, wanting to gain more customers, it's a whole different dynamic that we've never had to deal with before, right? So because you want to be putting out valuable content, but it needs to be the right, like you said, it's got to meet all this criteria for it to actually get the views, for it to be worth your time to create in the first place. So
well, and so many people have online products now. And so I think a lot of people are getting maybe just annoyed of it, which is fine. They have every right to feel that way. But also there's a lot of bad content that they're getting, and they're scared to move forward. So like, for example, we have a worm guide. So how to get started with vermicomposting. And I compiled all the information that you need so that you don't have to search. It's all in a little PDF guide. It's $15. So you're not, it's not a huge commitment. And I got a message from someone who bought the worm guide, but she first grabbed one of our freebies. And she said, I grabbed your freebie on chicken, and it's the only reason why I bought your worm guide is because your chicken guide was so good for free that I knew it would have valuable information in it, because I've gotten screwed already so many times by other people's crappy paid for products. Yep. And I'm like, which I totally get, but I'm like, you were nervous about $15? Like, I'm not making it that you have to like invest thousands of dollars, like 15, and it still scares people off because people aren't actually providing true value. And so we've been working on our freebies a lot to just be like, this is just a snippet. Because again, I can't teach you everything in a PDF.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, so that's you're holding yourselves to a higher standard. The integrity is there. And I mean, people are going to flit about and come and go, but the people who really resonate and understand, especially through I like your model is what I'm trying to say, is that you give solid, good value through the freebies. People know that the meat and potatoes are going to be there behind the paywall. So that's just a really good thing. So, looking ahead to the future, or what you're noticing, because we're in the same position as you. We launched our magazine in 2020. Even in the last 4 years, things have changed. COVID had us living a certain way, then we come out of it, and then we're doing all the things. So do you have a sense of where you might steer the boat, pardon the pun, in the future? Like, what do you think Portage View might evolve into? Or are you just going to keep, producing the good, solid stuff now? Or are you envisioning, like, I know for us, we look at requests, comments, this kind of thing. So what are you seeing there that's maybe sparking some ideas?
I know that we have plans to do a canning course. People are big into canning. I'm a little hesitant just because I think people are burned out by courses. And so I don't quite know how I want to go about it. It is a lot of work that we are willing to put in for those who want it, but it makes me nervous because it's a lot while trying to also manage the Instagram and our other stuff. But ultimately our goal would just to be to be a mega resource for all different types of aspects of homesteading.
Yeah.
So could that involve things like honeybees in the future or different things like that?
Yeah, we have bees.
Oh, you do? Okay.
We do. My brother-in-law does them. And I'm like, Brett, we need a course. So let me know when you want to make it, because we don't do it. It's her, her son does it. And he took a class on how to do it. And I'm like, so when you're ready.
We own the bees.
We own the bees. Yeah. We just made him the beekeeper.
We paid for everything.
Yeah. But I'm like, let's teach, and then I have plans, like my kids are still really little, but my daughter is going to be showing at the fair this year for 4-H. And we were talking about how like they haven't taught yet, like how to show the goats. And so we've done the peewee where it's just, they've learned a little bit, but it's not anything like technical. And so my goal is, because we do know how to do the online business, is that when my daughter, who's 9 right now, is a little bit older, when she gets comfortable in showing the goats, that she can then create an online course for younger 4-H kids and families to teach how to show in a fair, and how to get, top notch ribbons. And I don't know all the terms, I'm new to it, but like how to do it, because I want her, like, she's got to start saving money, and she's only 9, and then my goal for my boys, they love chicken processing day. Like he's 7 now, but he goes up there with his knife and, he knows how to do it. And so I'm like, your future is, I'm going to buy you a chicken processing truck, and you're going to go up and down the road, not like the freeway and the cities, and you're going to be a chicken processor, and you're going to go do it for people, because
they will pay for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you can be competitive and still make good money for being, a teenage boy. So I've got 3 little boys. So that's their goal. Like 12-year-old's going to come out, and I envision it. I envision people being like hiring us or whatever. And it's like a 12-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 16-year-old coming out, and like, what is going on? But then just like killing it, literally, just like, because they just know and have those skills. Like that's my future, actually.
Yeah. I love that.
Like we look at 50 years ago, we couldn't even have been thinking or talking about things like this. Everyone was living in their own little places, far away from the neighbors and this and that. And that's one of the beauties that I really appreciate, is what the internet has given us. And Kay, you could probably say the same thing. We're probably in the same, season of our lives that way, is that to be able to sell a course online, and you don't even have to leave the yard, right?
You can be in bed sleeping, and you're selling.
And so being able to monetize things that and I think that's one of the really cool things. So if you had to summarize in maybe 3-4 words what your business stands for, or your motto, or kind of the foundations that you rest on, what would they be? I know it's kind of a,
for each of you,
big moment question, but what would that be?
Grow your own food.
Learn all you can about being self-reliant.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so why do you think that that's so important right now? I mean, some of the answers are probably pretty obvious, but to take us into the future, like for your kids and what they're doing down the road, and we got AI, you're using Chat GPT, so we've got that, and yet we still have the other side of the traditional things. Why do you think that's so important for people right now?
I think people need to really learn those skills, and they need to know how to have a food storage, and how to rotate it, how to add to it, because this world is not done changing. We don't know what's around the corner ever. And I'm not like a fear monger or a conspiracy theorist or anything like that, but I just believe in being prepared always.
And that's what you should have said. Be prepared always.
Yeah, be prepared always.
Yeah, that's a good one too, right? Yeah.
Well, that term you used, having a food storage, I would think that possibly there's a lot of urban families that wouldn't know what that means, because if you run out of the cereal, you go to the grocery store and you buy more. So could we just deep dive a little bit there? So if we have someone listening to the podcast and they're thinking, food storage, what is that? Could you give us, in your words, what that is?
Well, for one thing, too, how many times when something happens is people go to the store and nothing's left on the shelves? Everyone's taken all the bread, all the milk, all the eggs, and all the toilet paper. I don't know what it is about toilet paper. But what is a food storage? A food storage is something that you should have that you could live on for at least a year. If you lost your job, it doesn't have to be a catastrophe in the world, or an earthquake or a tornado. But what if you lost your job, or your partner or your spouse lost your job and they were maybe the sole provider? I know my brother and his wife at one time lived on their food storage because my brother lost his job. And so put away stuff that your family's going to eat. Put away things that, that store rice, store is really good. And you can always cook some rice or some oatmeal. That store's good. Canned goods, just start picking up some canned goods every week at the grocery store. You can add to it. So great. And there's so many resources out there that can help you and can tell you, okay, this is what you buy this week. This is what you buy this week. And you can do it.
Well, and it's such an unknown thing, because we've posted some videos before about our food storage, and people were like livid at us. Yeah. Why are you wasting all of that food? I'm like, well, we're not wasting it. We eat it and then we replace it.
Yeah.
And we eat it and replace it. So it's not old, but like, it was so mind-boggling to me that they just thought I was storing this food and it was going to complete waste. And I'm like, yeah. Or, just go to the grocery store. And I'm like, but it's not there anymore. Like, in 2020, yeah. I couldn't find oatmeal forever. She had like a number 10 can of oatmeal that I opened up and used, yeah, because I could not get any oatmeal. And so I'm like, yeah, put something away, because they're yeah. going to steal the oatmeal.
Yeah. And don't you think it comes down to an empowerment thing, like being responsible for how we provide for ourselves or how we can prepare for ourselves? Like, I think in this day and age and our culture, there's been a huge power shift. And I think a lot of people rely on externals, whether that's people in authority or power, whatever that is. But I think we all need to get back to feeling and being in touch with, what am I responsible for in my own life, and how can I provide for myself and my family, and what does that look like? Do I need to learn a new skill? Who do I need who can mentor me, or just taking that into our own hands too, right? And that's an empowering thing. We do it with our mental health. Like, that's a huge conversation right now, but why not also for food security?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And women are leading the way. Let's put that out there.
I'm curious, because you're both at totally different seasons of life, as are we. And I'm curious from each of your perspectives, how that plays into how you each show up in your business, right? Because Jordyn, like I can relate to you. I don't have 4 kids, but my hubby and I, we've got one. He's 6 years old. And, all that goes into keeping a family going, and the laundry and the running around and the groceries and the meals and all that, plus being a working mom. And then I call you Bubba, because Luca calls me Bubba, Grandma.
Nona,
I love it. Okay.
Nona and
like
Bubba.
It's such a different season of life. And not for a second don't want to say that, Mom helps out a ton with Luca and all that kind of stuff. But the reality is we're living such parallel, but such stark different seasons of life. How do you not reconcile, but how is that for each of you? And are there any ever times where it feels unbalanced?
There's days where sometimes we've got a list of things to go and do in the garden. And I like being up there. I honestly do. But sometimes it'll be like, hey, I'm out in the garden. I'm like, I just want to fold my laundry. But then I'm like, you know what? It's just laundry. I'll do it later. And so really knowing like what's the big goal? We want to grow the garden.
Yeah.
I'll do the laundry later. So, I mean, that's, for me, I just kind of focus on the big picture, and I haul my kids outside and wear my baby on the back, or I work during nap time outside with her. And my house, I'm not perfect at it. My house is a mess some days, and I'm overwhelmed by it, but I'm like, well, this is just it. So
Yeah.
And how about for you, Kay?
Well, I just, sometimes I'm just so grateful to be here in this area and be next to family, to be able to help support them too. Like, Jordyn had to go to the dentist, and, tomorrow I've got to bring the little squirt home because she's got to take the other one to speech. And, I have my Master Gardener thing in the morning, but I'll just, meet her when it's over, and I'll bring the kids home and
pick up the kids off the bus, because now it's a half day.
Yeah, and I enjoy doing that. I'm grateful that I can do that for her, because I know how hard it is not to live next to family. I did it for years when my husband was in the corporate world.
Well, and especially that we have a great church community that I could easily rely on, but we live 30 minutes from town, that it is not actually feasible for me to run my kids, because everything is in Bellingham, but everybody lives in Ferndale, it's not far, but it's enough that it's
everything's 30 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I'm grateful to her that she can, I'm like, okay, here's what I have this week. I'm so sorry. Can you please help me watch my kids? But yeah,
if I can do it, I'll do it.
Yeah, and if not, I just
we figure it out. Most of the time I can do it.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful dynamic though, isn't it? Because I'm sitting here hearing you guys talk about it, and the same with us. We live together. We've got my hubby Jean and our son and Bubba, and we all live together. And for years we had people in our lives that externally or expressed their dislike and saying, you guys need to go your separate ways. Why are you doing this? And they just didn't get it. And now we're weaving this beautiful life of working together and living together and helping each other. And it's kind of like how it was years and years ago when families would come together. So it's no different for you guys living just on the same property, right? And I'm grateful for it. I feel so blessed, and especially for Luca having his Bubba, and he thinks every kid has a Bubba at home, but he's lucky.
Yeah. When he draws a picture of a family, there's always a Bubba.
There's always a Bubba.
And kids learn what they live. But I think, years ago, people couldn't wait to get away from each other and be independent and buy their house or do this or do that. But I think there's some resets happening. And I think we even saw with COVID, right? All the elderly people lonely, sitting in their lodges and all the rest of that. So I think people are more aware that although we've gone through this huge consumerism in years gone by of having the biggest and the best, I think people are realizing that the biggest and the best
is the quality of our relationships.
It doesn't fill you up from the inside.
I think more people want to get back to this, generational living. It's if you get along, it's really, it's really great.
I think there's definitely a benefit to let your kids, move away and grow and develop into their own selves. But once they found themselves, moving back home, that's the way to go. I'm confident in who I am. Yeah. And so if she doesn't do this, so I don't even have an example, but if she was always like, well, you need to do this, you need to do that. I'm confident in what I do. So I'm just I don't care. I'm doing this. But if you can become who you are and set, you can set boundaries. Boundaries are great. But to be able to, live next door and have just a village.
Yeah. Especially COVID, we had Robert and Bailey here.
Yeah.
So I had another child and his wife here. And it was really great because we could hang out together. We didn't have to how do I say, we had each other.
Yeah.
We weren't isolated, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, because I remember seeing people were like, we're not allowed to be anywhere. And we just
Yeah.
hung out on the compound with each other
Yeah.
every day. Like that was like one of our best years, actually. It was
Yeah,
like
it was fun.
the longest summer. We had great weather. And I'm like, sometimes I miss that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, not having to go into town or do all the things.
Yeah. Oh, the Costco line.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Let's not go there.
Yeah. So
Anyways,
in
yeah.
closing, what would be your piece of advice if there's, for our listeners thinking, oh my gosh, I want to do this. I want to do what Kay and Jordyn are doing. What would you each give as your number one piece of advice for it?
Well, okay, I'm new to it. So my advice is start small. You do not have to do everything. Like if your homestead journey is just raising chickens for eggs, that is okay. Sorry, this is a side note.
Yeah.
Kay's been raising goats for like, I don't know how many years before you added the pigs, like 10?
Oh yeah, a long time.
10 years before we added pigs. Because she's like, well, I don't know if I'm ready. Like 10 years before expanding on another animal. That is okay. You know?
Yeah.
And then we got pigs. We had them for a year. We butchered them. And we have not gotten our next set of pigs yet. And we're going to do it next year. But it'll have been 3 more years. Like it is okay to go small. Because you have to, if you want this whole lifestyle, you have got to build it up slowly. Because, and I say this because she's been doing it forever and I jumped into it, and there's no way I could have managed having babies, caring for goats, meat chickens, adding pigs, and all of the apple trees and the garden and the canning and preserving. I would have drowned. And so learning those skills, letting them become your lifestyle, and then building upon them as they are just part of you, that's where I would go.
Yeah. My advice would be is just, like Jordyn says, a little bit at a time, but if you've got, things going on, 30 minutes a day, just spend 30 minutes a day somewhere. That's nothing. And see what you can get done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like don't overwhelm yourself, right?
Yeah.
You don't need to do it all. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that advice.
Yeah.
Because I think people think that you got to go for the big thing all at once. And then, just like an exercise program every January, a weekend, you think, oh, this isn't so great anymore kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and especially on social media, people are comparing Kay's 30 plus years gardening experience to their 10 minutes.
Yeah.
You can't.
Awesome. Well, for those listening, grab our summer issue. It's issue 15, right?
Yeah.
Issue 15.
How did that happen?
And you can read Jordyn and Kay's 7-page feature story and the photos. And this was so awesome. Just as a follow-up and diving in deeper from your guys' feature article, what is your website and Instagram and all that? Plug away. Because if I'm sure there's a lot of listeners who are like, I want to learn from these gals. I want to sign up for that membership. So how would they do that?
Yes. So everything can be found from our Instagram, which is Portage View Farm. We do have a website, but our membership is not on our website because it's through a different platform. But Portage View Farm is everything.
Yep.
And you can email us if you have questions and we can send you the links needed. But everything you can get to via our Instagram page.
Beautiful.
Perfect.
Simple.
Okay.
Love it.
Well, it was just lovely chatting with you gals today. And you have a very calming energy about you. I can see why people just enjoy learning from you.
Yeah.
I just kind of find myself leaning in and listening. So it's wonderful. It's all the best. All the best.
Thank you.